Hey guys, good morning. It is Brent Abel here, webtennis.com. Hold on for 1 second. Just making a couple of notes here before I forget. Does it probably doesn't happen to you, but once in a while, I need to make a couple of notes here. Give me about 5 more seconds and we will get going here. And okay. So what's going on out there today? Hope you're having a great day so far, wherever you are. We're getting a little late start this morning out here in the West Coast, 7:30 this morning, 10:30 in the East Coast. Hope you're having a great day so far, wherever you are, and that Santa stopped by yesterday or the night before or whenever. And anyway, really hope you had a great day yesterday. And so, look, today what I want to talk about is the return of serve. And I just want to give you 3 quick little things that work for me, and that it's 3 things that I practice the most about my return. Occasionally there's sort of another little maybe nuance here or there that I kind of tinker with, but by and large, when I'm working on the return to serve, and certainly when I'm playing in a match, I actually, I'm not one of those kind of people. I mean, I hear this all the time, coaches are playing, say, oh, I just shut down all the thinking. I don't, I try to go completely brain dead and this kind of thing. And I've tried it. And for me, what happens is it's kind of like we've been talking about recently with, what you want to do at the end of a point. And what I used to try to do when Mr. Stowe said, well, just kind of take it like a man, Brent. If you just chunked an evil and just kind of take it like a man, which meant to me, all right, we'll just have zero emotion, do absolutely nothing at the end of a point. And when I did that, I would white knuckle just trying to hold on to do nothing, which always meant there were always other competing thoughts coming in or, additional thoughts. So for me, I'm not saying that the entire match is me kind of thinking about how to manufacture a shot, from stroke to stroke. That doesn't happen. But with the return to serve, where I've got a little bit of just, a few seconds there, I do think of a couple things. I do think of a couple of technique things. And I don't think of them as much as technique, but I think of as cues, Q-U-E, right? And these are just reminders for me. It's a way to, again, not manufacture the return to serve, but at least try to make sure that I'm reminding myself of good habits, of a good cue. So real quick, what I want to do this morning is give you those 3 things. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring up a little video to demonstrate. I can't really demonstrate it because it's too far away to be able to actually see everything here. But assuming that you can see my video now, and look, this is a match that my friend Chris Morgan and I played against the great Paul Wolf and Len Wofford, arguably one of the best doubles teams in the world in their age group. And next year they come into my age group, into the 70s, which is always a little rough. I mean, it is a class, right, of guys that come into my age group, which would be this is my 3rd year. So next year's my 4th year. So, I got a couple of years in there where there's some rough guys, there's some rough dudes in there. Anyway, that being said, so here we go. I'm going to show you a couple returns. One is the first one here is a backhand return to serve. And let me tell you the 3 cues that I think about. First of all, as I'm kind of squaring myself, right? I'm kind of squaring myself up to the server. And this is not one of the cues. This is just, quickly, just a little reminder for you. But I like to face the server. And I think too often what I see is players literally facing forward towards the net. And so for me, what works best, and it's always made sense, is that if I directly face cross court to the server, is that I've now bisected those 2 angles from forehand to backhand in terms of, if I was facing the net here, okay, I might be set up more for the backhand than the forehand. I don't like that. So first thing I do is I want to remind myself as everyone's getting prepared here, and I'm going to back this up just a couple of frames here, but I've got Paul walking over to get ready. And the first thing I'm thinking about is soft hands, right? I want my hands really relaxed on the racket handle because look, if we have too much tension in our hands, that tension works up into our arms, into our shoulders. Actually, it sort of works up, into the entire body, at least for me. And what happens is I don't want to bring tension to eventually being able to react to what direction is the serve coming, right? It's going to be to my right, a forehand, or to my left, a backhand. And so right now I'm thinking about soft hands. I'm really just barely gripping the racket. And lots of times what I'll do here is my left hand, where I'm up by the throat of the racket, then I'm really holding the racket up there and sort of almost kind of fluttering, the fingers a little bit on the racket handle, just to ensure another cue to make sure that the hands are soft. And now that's thing one, is to make sure that the hands are soft so that I can react with cue number two, which is a shoulder turn, right? So when I think about prepping for a forehand or backhand, or if the server plays the ball right at me, what I'm going to choose, a forehand or backhand on that, is that I want to think, I don't think about racket back, but I think about shoulder turn. I want to get into as complete a shoulder turn in reaction to the direction of that serve, right? So in this particular one, it's come to the backhand, and all I'm trying to do is just turn the shoulders. And look, the racket just automatically gets into a racket, old school, coaching terminology, racket back. Well, you could, from facing forward, you could actually kind of wrap your arm backwards, right? And put the racket back, but you'd never get the shoulders turned. And we've got to get into a decent hitting position, which we know is sideways, right? We've got to get turned. So for me, again, if I don't do cue number one, which is soft hands, because if I've got too much tension, I'll never get out of that racket. I mean, I'll get slightly out of that facing forward position, but not enough to where now I can go ahead and swing. And look, this is not a super deep serve, but with Paul and on these hard courts, he hits it pretty flat, right? And it kind of shoots low and it stays, about waist high, doesn't really get up where, you might want to chip it. And so for me, this ends up being a flat backhand return to serve drive. And so the third thing for me is to make sure that my swing path goes at an angle, and I don't know the exact number of what the angle is, but that it goes slightly from low to high. And I don't want to come off the ball, right? I want to drive over the top of the ball. The swing path is going over the top and forward, and so that you don't come off of the ball. I think I see too often, and I get in this bad habit, and too often where I'll come in here and right about here, I'll start to flip the racket with my wrist to the right on the backhand. And I got to ensure that I continue to just swing forward, let that arm extend out towards the target, right? Out towards the target. And then it kind of relaxes here a little bit, right? And so let's kind of go back and just look at it real time and just try to think of those three things in real time here that I mentioned. Number one is soft hands, really soft hands on the racket handle so that you can turn the shoulders and drive the racket swing forward, okay? Now this is a forehand. This is the exact same thing, right? Exact same thing. I'm thinking soft hands so that I can react. I don't know where he's serving to. I have no idea. I mean, some guys, okay, they kind of give you a little telegraph, right, of where it might be going. When I'm returning serve, I never totally trust it because there are guys out there who can put a toss somewhere and it's with everyone else in the world, oh, that's coming over here to my left. But for whatever reason, with this guy, it's a quirky thing and it comes to the right. And look, let's be honest. Sometimes we think we're going to serve, maybe to in this case, it might be going out wide or not out wide, but, to the outside corner. And for whatever reason, we get a hair early and now it ends up coming inside. All right. So Let's go back. Soft hands, soft hands. And look, when is the only time when we maybe need to slightly firm the grip? Maybe right about there, maybe. But I'd like to keep it relaxed, not so flippy floppy that the ball kind of, pushes the racket head around. But if I get too tight, especially up in here, I might not, first of all, I might not complete the shoulder turn, but the swing starts to slow down, right? And so that's a little bit of a slight underspin. I mean, you can just see the way that the racket kind of opens up here. And really all that I'm trying to think is, okay, good serve inside, and all I want to do is just shove it back cross court and kind of hoping that Lenny's not on the move, right? Now, if he had gone on the move and I played it and this thing had gone, this would have been a tough little return, right? The ball probably would have been down for him. And so there you have it. Now, how do we take these three habits? And let me get out of this and come back here to you. So, Randall, I grew up returning against Roscoe, self-defense, for Simmons and net. Well, that's a rough combo. Not sure if I've got the recommendation of what to do with Roscoe's other than guess. I mean, and look, yeah, I mean, sometimes you do have to guess, and other times, that's, well, I shouldn't say, and here we go. Yeah, sometimes you have to guess. Sometimes you have to back up a little bit and just throw up a lob. But it's another reason why, if you're going to guess, that you've got to have soft hands in the racket. You can't be strong, because you'll never react, right? I mean, so, and it's kind of another thing. Like, yeah, I think we should do another one here coming up on a daily live, which would be the reflex volley, right? When you're, and this happens mostly in doubles, when you've got more than a couple guys up there, and there's a quick little volley exchange. And all of a sudden, the guy's got kind of a little fat, chubby sitter, and he goes right at you. And how do you reflex it? How do you give yourself the best chance to reflex it? Well, if you go strong in the grip and you create tension, you go, and rather than, all right, I got to go soft in the hands, because if you go soft in the hands, you then have a chance to be able to react to it. So to get back on topic today, and to, Randall, well, good for you, man. I'm sure you've got one heck of a great return. Look, as I mentioned a couple days ago, I talked about when Rob Olson and I lost in San Antonio, first round of doubles, came back, and for the next year, we practiced the cross-court doubles. And for me, I got to practice against a really good server. And I mean, big, and well, Roscoe's a different league, obviously, but this was a time when I got desensitized to a big serve, and started practicing and realizing, kind of tinkering with, well, what is the return to serve technique? And three of the things that I've eventually come away with are these three things that we're talking about today, which are soft hands. You got to react to the direction by turning the shoulders. Don't think racket back. It'll go back automatically. And then the third thing is, if you're going to drive it on a topper, slight topper, we're not crazy topper, but if you want to drive it, then you got to have a swing path that goes towards the target, up and over the top of the ball. But now, how do we transfer this from practice into a real match? And look, I hear this all the time. Well, I'm pretty good in practice, but I get in the match and everything kind of falls apart. And so what I would tell you is that if it's actually happening in practice, but you're not making it happen in a match, or you're inconsistent in a match, then obviously you've got too many competing voices going on in a match. And so what I would tell you, first of all, is to really embrace hybridizing a four-part between points routine. And again, if you want to share this video by clicking the share button, either here at Facebook or over at YouTube. If you do so, let me know. And the best way to let me know is over Brent@webtennis.com. And I will give you my 4-part between points routine. It's a few page PDF, kind of goes through a couple of stories on there, but it's how I developed it. And so what I would tell you is that in a match, I'm willing to bet that you've got a lot more stuff that you're thinking about in a match between points than you do when you're in practice. And really what we want to do in a match is we want to clean the slate before the start of the next point. And, all the cliches about the mental part of the game as well, you gotta stop worrying about about the result. And it's kind of true. It's kind of true. I mean, so what I do though is I think more strategically between points. How do I want to start the next point? And on the return of serve, for me, since I'm not in control of where the server is going to actually serve it to, whether it's tee or body or out wide, then I go through this first cue, which is soft hands. And then at least I'm telling myself I'm proactive with what I'm telling myself, rather than just trying to white knuckle, have no emotion, and just not sure about what's going on. And I mean, the return to serve in a match for me, especially in doubles, I've got a net guy in front of me, or maybe there's maybe they're playing I formation or whatever. But I want to feel in charge, and what I want to feel in charge about are those 3 things. Right? Is number 1, soft hands. Number 2, turn the shoulders. And look, lots of times with a net guy who loves to poach, I'm going to be able to see out of my peripheral. Not that I'm taking my eye off the incoming ball. Obviously, don't want to do that. And sometimes you have to guess as to whether or not that server's partner is going to actually poach. Well, look, I mean, throw up a lob, keep him at bay, drive a couple of returns, even if you don't know that he or she are poaching. Don't go up the alley. Don't try to thread the needle and hit a outright winner. Go right at them. Tie up stroke technique. Tie up that volley stroke technique. Go at them, and look, you may get a much easier ball for the next one, and that one turns out to be your kind of return to serve part B approach shot. Right? God. Maybe a little bit too much of this morning. Well, not too much. Anyway, so guys, that's it. I just think that, I think that you do have to have a cue in the return to serve. I do think if you just go completely brain dead on it, that at least for me, maybe for you it's different, but for me, I need to have a couple of reminders, and they don't lock me up. I mean, the reminders are to do the opposite of creating tension. So practice this stuff. Tinker with it, and look, just get a practice partner out there and have someone just return serve, for 10, 12, 15 minutes. And then you reciprocate and ask them, hey, what do you want to work on? But I think the best way to transfer this into a match is to start practicing that between points routine in practice, right? So not only are you working on at least the 2 things, because you don't know if you're going to get a serve where you can drive it, have a swing path that goes forward towards the target over the top of the ball. But at least you can start practicing those first 2 things: soft hands, shoulder turn in reaction. And because again, I mean, if they serve you out wide, you're not going to drive it, right? If they serve right at you, you're not going to drive it, like we saw in that forehand return to serve of mine. Can't drive that thing, right? So you're not in charge of that. But yet I would highly recommend practice your between points routine. And when you're returning, give yourself that reminder of a cue, of the first 2 cues. Blah, blah, blah. There we are. There you have it. So guys, hope this has helped. I'd love to get your feedback. Any more comments? What do we got here? James, good morning. How you doing, man? Great thoughts on the return, something we can take to the court. And Jinjin is asking, what does soft hands mean? Well, soft hands means that I don't want to be gripping tightly on the racket handle as the server's about to go into their tossing motion, as they come out of the tossing motion, and as I react to the direction of the serve, to my right, forehand, to my left, a backhand, and whatever it is. So soft hands means no grip tension as you're about to return serve. And again, like I said before earlier, when do we need to maybe firm up the grip? Maybe a hair, not squeeze, not the death grip, but when do we actually need to firm it up? And it might be just prior to contact. Well, that's like 1% of the return to serve. So there you have it. Peter Hitch, good morning. The great Peter Hitch. Hope you're surviving the winter up there in Wyzetta, I think. All right, guys, look, that's it for me. I'm assuming you're going to have a great day, but for sure, get out there today and help someone else do the same. Help someone else have a great day. Guys, I will see you again tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with me.